That night, she barely slept. Every time the wind made a sound or something creaked in the house, she jolted awake, her mind returning to the moment the pot had shifted. The next day, as soon as her mother left to the farm, Ugochi sat up in the bed, staring towards the kitchen where the pot was. She hesitated for a moment. Then, gathering her courage, she tiptoed towards it. She stood in front of it, swallowing hard. Hello, she said. No response. The pot remained still. Ugochi took a deep breath and then placed her hand gently on its side. Look, I am not convinced by what my mother said yesterday. I know you spoke to me, and I know you moved. So I'm here to say I overreacted, and I'm sorry. Silence. She signed and continued. Can we be friends? I mean, there will be so many benefits to this friendship. Think about it, you and I, looking out for each other. I could keep your secrets, and maybe it could help me out sometimes. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. For example, imagine if you could fetch your own water. Mama won't force me to do it anymore. She chuckled nervously, waiting. Then, a deep rumbling voice. The pot replied, and what do I gain from doing this friendship? Ugochi's eyes grew wide. The pot was listening. Ugochi felt excited and decided to do anything the pot demands. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, she sat beside the pot, her fingers tracing it smoothly. Since you are no ordinary pot, Ugochi began with a slight smile, I have a few requests. The pot remained silent, but she could feel a faint hum of energy beneath her palm, as though it was listening. Encouraged, she continued, First, I want it to always be full of water. No matter how much I take from you, I should never have to go to the stream unless I want to. She paused, waiting for a reaction, but the pot did not protest. Second, on hot days, I want to sit inside you. You are always so cool, and I know it will feel nice. She jiggled at the thought of escaping scorching sun inside a pot's refreshing embrace. I agree to your demands, Ugochi, the pot said. You shall always find water within me, and I shall grant you refuge from the heat. Ugochi clapped her hands in excitement, but the pot continued, its voice taking on a more serious tone. There is one condition. Ugochi stilled, her excitement giving way to curiosity. You must always listen to me and obey my words without hesitation. If I tell you to do something, you must do it. If I tell you to stop, you must stop. If I warn you, you must heed my warning. Ugochi frowned slightly, thinking it over. She had never had to obey a pot before, but this was no ordinary pot. If it could grant her wishes, perhaps its commands were important too. All right, she said at last. I promise to listen and obey. The pot gave a soft hum of approval. One quiet afternoon, as Ugochi sat beside the magical pot, lazily splashing water onto her feet, the pot spoke again. Ugochi, it said in a calm, echoing voice. You have made your requests, and I have granted them. But now, I have a request of my own. Ugochi raised a curious brow. A request? What could a pot possibly want? The pot hummed softly before replying. You must take me to the stream sometimes. I wish to see other pots. They were my friends. Ugochi blinked in surprise, then burst into laughter. "Take you to the stream?" she repeated, shaking her head. "You are too big. How am I supposed to carry you? Especially when you are full of water." The pot chuckled, a deep, mysterious sound.
"Ha, Ugochi, you still do not understand me. Having water inside of me is not just for you. It's like recharging me. Once I am filled, I can move on my own."
Ugochi gasped, her eyes widened. "You mean you can walk?"
"Yes,"
the pot confirmed.
"but there is one condition. We must wait until everyone has left the stream. I do not wish to startle others."
Ugochi stared at the pot, speechless for a moment. First, it could always be full of water. Then, it could keep her cool during the hot days. And now, it could work. She clapped her hands together and let out a delighted laugh. "You are full of surprises." She threw her arms around the pot, hugging it tightly. "I have always wanted a kid brother. Now I can assume you as one." The pot hummed again, almost as if it were smiling.
"Then I shall be your brother, and you shall be my sister."
At that moment, Ugochi felt a deep warmth in her heart. She had found not just a magical pot, but a true companion. From that day on, Ugochi and the magical pots carried out their promises to each other in secret, careful never to let her mother suspect its sin. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, Ugochi would wake up early and tiptoe to her mother's room, making sure her mother was still asleep. She would place her hands on the pot's cool surface and whispered, "Good morning, my little brother." The pot, in its soft, echoing voice, would hum in reply,
"Good morning, my sister."
She never had to struggle with fetching water anymore. No matter how much she scooped from the pot, it always remained full. This meant she had more time to play and rest instead of making endless trips to the streets. But whenever the sun blazed too hot and sweat trickled down her back, she would sleep inside the pot's cool embryo, sighing in relief as the soothing chill wrapped around her. The pot, in turn, had its own wish fulfilled. On special days, when the sun had begun its descent and the villagers had finished fetching water, Ugochi would whisper, "It's time. It's time. It's time." She would fill the pot to the brim, watching the fascination as it shuddered slightly. Then, just as it had promised, the pot would begin to move. At first, it swayed from side to side like a baby learning to walk, but soon it would roll forward on its own, following Ugochi down the narrow path towards the stream. Once they arrived, the pot would stand proudly at the water's edge, humming softly as though speaking with other pots that had been abandoned for the night. Ugochi never heard what they discussed, but she could always tell that the pot was happy. By the time they returned home, the pot would settle back into its usual place, and Ugochi would slip into bed, grinning to herself. Day after day, they kept their promises, living out their little secret adventure, and though her mother never suspected a thing, Ugochi felt like the luckiest girl in the world, because she did not just have a magical pot. She had a best friend and a secret brother, and a life filled with wonder. It was on a particular hot afternoon, and Ugochi had nested herself inside the pot, sighing in relief as the cold water soaked her skin. With her eyes closed and a contented smile on her face, she whispered, "Ah, this is the life." But just as she was about to fully relax, the pot's deep voice rumbled softly.
Ugochi, come out. Your mother is coming.
Ugochi groaned lazily, stretching her arms. Eh? But why? I am comfortable. The pot trembled slightly beneath her.
She is likely coming to drink water. If she finds you inside me, she will know something is wrong.
Ugochi frowned, sinking lower into the water. I will be very still. I won't make a sound. The pot shook again, more gently this time.
That will not work. Ugochi, you must come out.
Ugochi crossed her arms stubbornly. Ha! Must you always be this troublesome? She grumbled. I was enjoying myself. The pot did not answer, only vibrating silently as the sound of footsteps grew louder. Finally, with an angry scoff, Ugochi splashed out of the pot, sending water spilling in all directions. She stood gripping wet, her face twisted in irritation just as the door creaked open. Her mother stepped inside, pausing as her sharp eyes scanned the room. Her gaze landed on the puddle of water spreading across the floor. Why is there water everywhere? She asked, her brows knitting together. Ugochi's heart pounded, but she quickly put on a sleepy expression, rubbing her eyes as if she had just woken up. I don't know, Mama, she said with a yawn. I was sleeping. Her mother narrowed her eyes, then turned to the pot, walking closer. She scratched slightly, inspecting its surface, then ran her fingers along the base where the water had poured. Is this pot leaking? She muttered to herself. Ugochi swallowed hard, watching nervously as her mother continued to examine the pot. She held her breath, hoping that her mother would not press any further. Finally, after a long moment, her mother sighed and shook her head. Maybe it's just my imagination, she said, standing upright. But if this pot cracked, we will have to replace it. Ugochi stiffened. Replace it? She nearly gasped aloud, but quickly caught herself. Her mother gave one last suspicious glance around the room before walking out, still shaking her head. As soon as the door closed, Ugochi exhaled in relief. Then turned to the pot. See what you have caused? You made me rush out like that and almost got us caught. The pot let out a deep, knowing hum.
If you had stayed inside, she would have found you, and we would have been in bigger trouble.
Fine, you were right. But next time, give me more warning. The pot only hummed again in amusement. And though she wouldn't admit it, Ugochi was secretly grateful for its quick thinking. Another day, the sun had begun its descent, casting long shadows across the compound, and Ugochi was inside the hut, humming softly as she traced patterns in the dirt floor with her fingers. The pot sat in its usual place, silent and still, at least for now. Everything had been going smoothly between Ugochi and the pot. They had kept their secret well. Or so she thought. But secrets have a way of slipping out, especially when one grows too comfortable. That day, Ugochi had been careless. She had taken a long, indulgent soak inside the pot, cooling off after a tiring day. And when the pot warned her that her mother was approaching, she had rushed out. Her mother walked in just moments later and immediately noticed the wet ground. She stopped in her tracks, her sharp eyes narrowing. What is going on here? Ugochi stiffened. I don't know, Mama, she stammered, attempting her usual excuses. Maybe the pot is leaking again. But this time, her mother was not convinced. She stepped closer, running her hands along the pot's surface, feeling the dampness still clinging to it. "This is strange," she muttered, inspecting it closely. "How can the outside be wet when no one has fetched water just now?" Ugochi swallowed hard. But before she could say anything, her mother did something unexpected. She lifted the pot slightly and pressed her palm against its bottom. And that was when it happened. The pot shivered. It was a small, barely noticeable tremble, but her mother felt it. She snatched her hand back, her eyes going wide with shock. "What was that?" she whispered. Ugochi's heart pounded. "Mama, it's nothing. But before she could finish, the pot spoke.
"Put me down,"
it said, its deep, echoing voice filling the hut. Ugochi's mother screamed, trembling backward, nearly dropping the pot in the process. What? What kind of witchcraft is this?" she cried, her voice shaking. Ugochi panicked. "Mama, wait. It's not what you think. The pot is..." But her mother wasn't listening. In her mind, there was only one explanation. This was an evil pot, cursed and dangerous. She had been fetching water from a talking pot without knowing. In her fear and rage, she grabbed the pot with both hands again, raised it high above her head, and with a powerful cry, smashed it onto the ground. The pot shattered into countless pieces, water splashing in every direction. Ugochi gasped, falling to her knees as the reality of what had just happened sank in. "No!" she wailed, gathering the broken particles with trembling hands. "Why did you do that?" Her mother was panting, clutching her chest, her face filled with terror. "That thing was not natural, Ugo. It was a spirit, a trickster. It could have harmed us." But Ugochi did not hear her. She stared at the broken fragments, tears blurring her vision. The pot, her friend, her brother, her secret companion was gone. Ugochi cried like never before.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you were entertained. Please don't forget to like and comment. Also hit the subscribe button for more upload videos. Thank you.